The Wes Penre Papers. A Journey Through the Multiverse. The First Level of Learning. Wespenre.com. Science Section. Introduction to the Science Papers. By Wes Penre, Wednesday, February 16, 2011. Wespenre.com. Scientific theory, more often than not, is born of bold assumptions, disparate bits of unconnected evidence, and educated leaps of faith. John Brockman, Editor. What we believe but cannot prove, today's leading thinkers on science in the age of certainty. I found Brockman's statement in one of Dr. A.R. Borden's and J.W. Barber's essays, Catastrophism, Exopolitics, and the Return of True, a case for the long-term or extended view of exopolitics, from the Journal of End Time Studies series. Both Borden and Barber are scientists, but in an unorthodox and highly innovative way, as we shall see in the following science papers. John Brockman, editor and publisher of EDGE, an organization of science and technology intellectuals, asked the question, "What do you believe to be true though you cannot prove it?" to a number of scientists for his book, What We Believe But Cannot Prove, Today's Leading Thinkers on Science in the Age of Certainty, 2006. What's most interesting is perhaps not the answers Brockman received, as the fact that the question was asked in the first place. I believe it's imperative that when we research, whether it's science, metaphysics, so-called conspiracy theories, our human origins, our present and future challenges as a human species, or anything else that can sometimes be hard to physically prove due to the nature of the studies, we very much need to use our intuition and trust our perceptions of what is true and what is not. Also, intuition is senior to belief. Most humans perceive themselves living in a very solid, physical reality, where they have forgotten who they are and where they come from. Often when we make a statement of a nature which is not within the norm of physicality or current belief systems, we are still required to put physical evidence on the table, until it fits in with current norms. If we can't, what we say is often dismissed from beginning to end due to lack of evidence, although it's impossible due to that the phenomenon is not physical in nature. Evidence is sometimes cognitive, downloaded from our higher selves, and often free from the paradigms of non-working belief systems already existing. This is the level at which great minds have worked through history. More often than not, they were not prophets in their time, but instead ridiculed, ignored, or even killed for thinking differently. Eventually the world caught up with them, embraced their work, and started acting as if it had always been true. It became self-evident. Not until mankind has learned that we are spirits in a body/mind complex, which in new advanced physics is called biomind, can we start operating on a higher level. In the meantime, we can only do our best to connect the dots as they were, and come to conclusions that work for us as individuals and interconnected biominds, based on a combination of physical evidence and intuition, which in a true way can be said to be communication with God. Although we are all on an individual path in a multiverse where everything is connected on a subquantum level, we are at the same time contributing our personal experiences to the collective consciousness and awareness as a human species on planet Earth, and what one experiences affects the collective. In a broader perspective, what mankind as a collective experiences affects the rest of the multiverse, because everything is interconnected, everything is one. However, for a whole species, connected via a common genetic template, and through a collective, interacting supermind, or oversoul, to evolve into a higher state of consciousness, we need to be both teachers and students at the same time. There are many ways to share what we learn. One way, of course, is to share it with as many people as we can through papers like these, and another is to just use our increasing state of consciousness to affect our environment positively by just being ourselves. People around us will feel the change and eventually follow, perhaps slowly in the beginning, but faster as we go along. They, in their turn, will continue doing the same thing, with quicker results as we all progress. A third alternative is to do both 1 and 2 above. I have chosen to do the latter for the time being, knowing there will be a time, perhaps sooner than later, when alternative 2 will be my sole preference. So, what has all this to do with science? Actually, quite a bit. Maybe not so much with traditional science as with the new very advanced science that has developed over the last few decades, science that goes beyond quantum physics and takes us to the core of existence, which includes the soul, spirit, and acknowledges the fact that we all are one, connected on a subatomic level with all that is, which is the true nature of God. The reader will notice that as a common thread through all the papers, at least on the first level of learning, is the alien presence on Earth today and in the past. I will also in great detail bring up the ET issue when comes to those who hover in the near-Earth space, why they are here, and what we should do with the disclosure issue. We will see that cutting-edge science of today and the ET presence go hand in hand, they are actually quite interwoven. I have chosen to present one specific scientific group which has opened up new avenues in the field of science, not only because they acknowledge the presence of a prime creator behind our universe, but also because the reason they could study the higher realms of the universe and the multiverse was because of the alien presence. They actually helped them develop this new very advanced science, which they call life physics, resulting in the working model. Mind you, having help from extraterrestrials is nothing new. There are metaphysical sources, like the Pleiadians, the Ra Collective, and others, who claim that both Einstein and Nikola Tesla had help from those not from here in their research. The main difference is that the group I am about to present openly admits that ETs had at least a few fingers in what developed into the working model, being a giant leap from Einstein's theory of relativity and David Bohm's quantum physics. The sequel of science papers that are opening up this website is going to be a big leap for many readers, but a very necessary one. You will be taken on an amazing journey through a multiverse which has been explored by Rouge scientists for as little as 10-15 years or so. It's probably going to be a very different experience than any other experience you have had in your life, even if you have previously studied quantum mechanics, metaphysics, ufology, the power elite, the history of planet Earth, the mystery schools, or all of the above. This is still going to be new for you. These science papers are introducing a new, very advanced physics, here presented in plain, intelligible English, or as close to it as possible. The Live Physics Group in California, LPGC1, has, through something they call ENS, Extension Neurosensing, been able to map out the universe, its 7 superdomains, with 11 dimensions. ENS is a new, advanced form of remote viewing, and how it works will be explained in more details. In the metaphysics papers I will also show the reader how this universe was created, who created it, and possibly why. We can't study science without bringing up the ET issue, extraterrestrials. We need to understand that not only do they exist, of course they do, but moreover, they are not out there somewhere in the vast universe, they are here now. There are at least 118-120 alien species in near-Earth space today that we know of, and many aliens are living among us, here on our very planet. So, are they friendly? The answer is, of course, yes and no. We are all individuals, and all of us are both friendly and unfriendly at the same time. ETs are not different from us in that respect. We need, once and for all, get rid of the labels good and bad aliens. There are no such things, only different imperatives. All species want to survive as a bioknd, physical body, and biomind, body/mind, if they are physical beings. However, as a group they may have imperatives that are counter-survival to our own human collective, and we call that bad or evil, but from their point of view it may be a way to survive. And in all species, except for those in the hive mind category, there are good and bad people, generally speaking. Before we learn more about ETs, this is the basic thing to understand: the majority of them are just like us, only more intelligent and further advanced, technologically. Many of them even look like us. In more than one way, ETs have saved us from extinction. As much as some of them have tampered with our DNA for their own reasons, which we will go into later, others have saved us from natural catastrophes, and we are not even aware of that these ETs exist. They have been silently working in the background. Of course, they are not here, doing this for us, just to be nice. They all have their reasons, which differ from species to species, but no matter imperatives, most ETs out there get along fairly well, and even trade on a galactic and intergalactic level, just like we do between countries here on Earth. Contact with these near-Earth space ET groups has already been made on a grand scale by LPGC. They have communicated with ambassadors for different alien species, respectively, being temporarily stationed here, close to Earth, to among other things study our development. The representatives from all the ET races LPGC are meeting with our non-gov, meaning they are not represented by their own government, but are supposedly just concerned members of their particular species. This team of human scientists have listened to them, and also addressed the concerns we have as a human species, and the help we eventually may need to be able to solve them. The perhaps most urgent matter in our time is to protect our biokin and claim sovereignty as a species. One thing I have in common with LPGC is that we both realize that humanity has been seeded by an outside intelligence, and genetically engineered and tempered with by different alien races, in these papers called creator gods with a small g. Due to that they are not gods at all, but very advanced ETs. Although some of them have showed themselves off as gods to the early humans, and others were worshipped as such although that was not their purpose. Moreover, we were genetically manipulated to become today's Homo sapiens, the thinking man, by an ET race ages ago to be used as workers, or slaves, rather. They mixed their own RNA/DNA with our existing one, and in certain terms, they have owned us ever since. Now, says Dr. A.R. Borden, chief scientist of LPGC, is the time for us to grow from adolescence to adulthood. To be able to do this, however, we need to understand the dynamics of what is happening around us right now, who is in charge of our reality, how we are manipulated, and why. We need to become aware of who we are and claim ownership of our biominds. One thing is for sure, we need to grow up fast. And we're not doing it by watching football games and soap operas on TV. According to Dr. Borden, if we can get at least 3% of the world population to join together in mind with common imperatives of what we want as a species, the ETs will take us seriously and give us what we ask for, sovereignty over our biominds and ownership of Earth. This is what has come out from the discussions between LPGC and ETs of the Link. The contact group LPGC are members of and who meet annually here on Earth, and sometimes off-planet. I am not totally in line with what Dr. Borden's group is suggesting when comes to the ET subject, but we'll discuss that later on in these papers. I think the view on the multiverse by this Rouge Science group is very interesting and well worth the reader's consideration. Their so-called working model, presented in Science Papers 1 and 2, is a huge expansion on the standard model, which is what we call the scientific model of modern, mainstream science. So let's start with taking a look at some of what LPGC has to offer. Wes Penre. February 16, 2011. Next.